Michelle, my wife of 31 years, has recently informed me, it's a good thing you're sitting down for this. Using some pretty compelling evidence, she informed me that I have not always been a perfect husband. I know, right? I was more surprised than you are. And as one of her pieces of evidence, remarkably she had more than one, but as one of her pieces of evidence, she pointed to the 5 years during which I was in formation to become a deacon. Those were some very hectic years in our family. When I started on this journey, my children were small. They were young. Jacob was 11, Alex was just 6, and Adam was only 3 years old. And I was spending 3 out of every 4 Saturdays in classes all day long. And I was working more than a full-time job that involved some travel. I was serving on a couple of committees here at the parish. I was teaching a confirmation class. And in the midst of all that, we started Streetlights Outreach. And I was also coaching 2 youth soccer teams. I really left her holding the ball at home with the kids and with the boys. And there was a lot going on, and it was very, very busy time. And in retrospect, I withheld something. During those years, I withheld some empathy. I withheld emotional support for her. I withheld some compassion, certainly some companionship. I withheld my presence. And I'm not proud of that at all. I joke a little bit about it only to mitigate the sting and embarrassment. Sometimes when we get so focused on all we're doing and all we're giving, we don't take time, make space to pause and consider what we're withholding. Jesus is so moved by this poor widow in this gospel story because she withheld nothing. She withheld nothing. The rich were very generous. They were giving large sums. And I'm sure that was appreciated. But they withheld way, way more than they gave. And this poor widow withheld nothing. So this story, on one level, certainly, yes, it is about generosity and stewardship. But on a deeper spiritual level, on a more urgent level, it's a story about love. How much love and compassion and kindness do we hold back? And why? It's a question that I think each of us would need to answer personally and individually. And we need to take some time to do some very sincere and honest self-reflection around that. But for me, how much love and compassion do I withhold, and why? This widow in the story would not allow herself to be encumbered by anxiety, by insecurity, or vulnerability, and certainly given her position in her culture, she faced a lot more insecurity and vulnerability than any of us. But she wouldn't allow that to hold herself back. I don't know that I have her faith. I would like to. I hope to. But I don't know that I do. Surely I'm very generous with my love and my compassion with my family and my friends. But isn't everyone? That's pretty easy. But what about the stranger in our midst? What about the unborn child who's yet to be named? What about the refugee family fleeing from violence? What about the neighbor, the cranky neighbor who's always complaining about everyone and everything? What about that coworker who never really seems to shoulder her share of the burden and stab me in the back once? Do I withhold love and compassion, kindness from these people? Sometimes I think I put more of my faith in vulnerability and insecurity and ego than I put in love and compassion and kindness. My friends, join me in looking around. There's so much pain. There's so much hurt. There's so much suffering and anger, hatred, violence, antagonism, division. I don't think we can afford to withhold any love or compassion from anyone. I don't think our world can afford for us to withhold and hold back any kindness from anyone. That's not how Jesus lived. He poured it all out. This widow poured it all out. That's how we're called and invited to live, to hold nothing back.